I've been streaming Street Fighter 6 like crazy, and I've gotten a lot of great questions from everybody. I love talking Street Fighter, and I love answering questions, but it seems like it's the same few questions over and over again. In this video, I'm going to answer your questions on Juri and Street Fighter 6 as a whole. Is there a trick to doing Juri's light Tensenrin into level 3? There are two trials that people get stuck on. The first is the advanced one that has EX dive kick, drive rush, crouching heavy punch, and the other is the intermediate one ending in light Tensenrin into the level 3. So what's the trick to do light Tensenrin into level 3? Well, you're not going to want to hear it, but it's to do it faster. But let me give you some tips to make this a little bit easier for yourself. I'm going to put the game speed on 50%, and I urge you guys to do so you can practice this. I don't want you to think of the DP, and then you see it come out, and then you do the level 3. You have to do it in one motion. 50% makes this easier, but if you look at my inputs, I do not wait for the Tensenrin to come out before I do the level 3. I input the command for Tensenrin in a few different ways depending on the combo. For this combo specifically, I don't think of it as forward medium punch and then forward down down forward. I do not do that. That's a lot to remember. What I think about instead is forward medium punch and then quarter circle forward punch. The first forward medium punch counts as the first forward for DP. So all I have to do at that point is do a fireball, and that will give me the Tensenrin. That shortcut should make it a little bit easier to organize it in your head. How do I do Juri's Advanced 1 trial? This trial is not that bad once you know the trick to it. Don't mash the dive kick at the top of the head because the crouching heavy punch will whiff. Instead, wait for her to drop a bit for the dive kick. You see her dip a little bit there. It will give you more time for the heavy punch. I'm struggling to counter drive impact spammers as Juri. I mainly use medium punch and hard punch as combo starters in neutrals, and it's always hard to react to them when the opponent DIs. The issue could be one of two things. First, you might not be used to counter DIing yet, and that is a possibility, as hard punch and medium punch are both cancelable. However, the bigger issue is probably that you're canceling these buttons before the drive impact comes out. Case in point, in this case, I'm going to use Enkensatsu after the heavy punch, and that's when I get hit. This is a drill that I set up so that I can respond to drive impact much better. You go to the reversal options in the start menu, go to block reversal, and set up each slot like such. Crouching, light punch, drive impact, and do nothing. Now we go over to dummy settings and select block to all block. Now when Luke blocks, he will respond with one of those three things. So what I want you to do is to go up to Luke and hit light, light, light. And if he drive impacts, you drive impact back. If you hit Luke, I want you to confirm into a combo. If you run this drill whenever you're bored, you will not only get better at your hit confirms, but you will also get better at responding to drive impact. You can use this to work on your pressure to make sure that your pressure stays nice and tight. Fighting games are a conversation amongst two people, so a lot of times we are not listening to what our opponent is doing. If you find someone doing a lot of drive impact, well, it's your job to listen to them and to respond accordingly. Tips versus zoners. Brand new to Street Fighter, but struggling with Juri versus JP. If your opponent wants you to take big risks to get in and try to dash in and try to hit buttons to get in and all that, just don't. Just sit back, chill. I just won't go in. Fine. Go in on your own terms. Don't go in on his terms. The reality is that most zoners can't keep you out forever. The reality is, look, I'm in jump range now. Now Ryu has to take a risk. If you think about it from a risk-reward kind of point of view, there's no risk for me just to do this here. There's also no risk for him to do that from that range. However, once I move up and get into this range, every fireball he throws is a risk. Everyone he throws is a possible big damage risk. There always is a risk to jump in and get knocked out of your jump. However, there's also a risk for the zoner to guess wrong too, and you're supposed to punish as much as possible. Once you do that a few times, they're going to be a little bit scared to throw fireballs constantly, and that's a win for you. It's hard for me to give advice on matchups. I've gotten a lot of questions about Kail, JP, Honda, Menon, but the reality is that I haven't played a lot of these characters at a meaningful level, and usually the basics work against the people at my rank, Diamond 2. I play against a competent JP often, and I find that me trying to get in, usually I have to guess what direction he wants to go in, and I end up walking into his spikes. However, I find making him guess what I want to do next and using drive rush to try to bypass that is important. So the same thing against other zoners, make sure it's just as much of a risk for them to zone as it is for you to try to get in. And when you get the hit, make it count. Approaching the opponent as a Juri main is difficult. I don't want to just spam jump-ins or instant DRs to get in. I don't quite understand the neutral footsies. Please help. Juri is blessed in a few ways. One, her DR goes very, very far. The next part is her moves are forward moving, so even with DR, you can attack from very far away. Don't be afraid to drive rush in, as it allows you to burst move and get in their face, and it gives you extra frame advantage. She also has a fireball, which goes almost a full screen. So if you throw your Saihasho, it's up to your opponent to respond to it. If your opponent tries to jump in, you can stop them. If your opponent is content with standing still, you can approach and then stop them from trying to hit buttons. If you mix this in with drive rush, you get in for free. It's also important to take note of what your opponent wants to do in neutral as well. So in this case, Kimberly wants to use medium kick. Well, in this case, I'm going to try to walk outside of range and attack her as she whiffs it. Sometimes this is just as important as what you want to do in neutral. But again, if you throw out your fireball, it creates a nice little gap for you to get in. We like to act first and don't let our opponent show their hand. So sit back, make sure they attack first and see what they want to do. And don't be afraid to use things like drive rush or jumps to get in. From time to time, it's good to sprinkle them in because it's not your job to stop that. It's their job to stop you. You have to show that dashes and jump-ins are a possibility, because if not, they're able to hyper-focus on the ground game, and you're not able to overwhelm them with the possibility of choices. Can you help me understand how to link? I'm having a hard time doing medium punch to crouching medium punch. I did a video on this, and there will be a link on the top right of the screen if you want to go take a look at that video explaining the difference between chains and links. Simply put, there are two types of combos. There are chains, where you don't have to wait for the move to recover. You could just mash the light punch out. Same thing with Juri's death press. You don't have to time this. You could just mash it out, and it will come out perfectly every time. These you have to time because you have to wait for the first attack to recover before the second attack goes through. If we turn on the frame meter, if we hit the first medium punch, we can see on the screen here that we are 7 frames advantage. Well, crouching medium punch is 6 frame startup, which allows this combo to work. If you look at the frame meter on the bottom, we have this combo here. The medium punch has to recover. Blue is recovery. Green is startup. This move recovers, and then the startup happens, and it combos all the way through. This right here is hit stun. If we go into the start menu and go to screen display settings, we can turn on action timing display. And if you look above, it shows you the window in which you can do your next move. So when that turns green, we can hit the next attack. This is a good way to practice links, as you can try to time when your next link is based on when that green bar turns green. And there's a test to find out whether or not you're doing it too fast or too slow. If you go into the dummy settings and turn on block after first hit, we can do a little test. If your second hit doesn't combo and she blocks it, well, that means you're doing it too slow. The cool thing about links is that the timings are universal, meaning a link off of medium punch will always feel exactly the same way. The timing will always be the same no matter what button you press. Once you get the timing for this down, you'll also have the timing for this. You'll also have the timing for this down. You'll also have the timing for this down. Because the timing is based upon the recovery of the first attack, not the startup of the second attack. As long as the combo is possible, the timing is always the same. How do I get better at canceling? I can't seem to do crouching medium punch into Fuhajin. Another issue that people have a hard time with is going to be the special cancels. If you look at the characters when you hit them, there's a slight pause whenever you hit them. This is the cancel window. However, there's another tool we can use. If we go over to screen display settings and we turn on cancel timing display, you'll see something very interesting. Once we use the attack, Juri will turn red when she can cancel. Slow the game down, and it makes this game a lot easier so you can practice things in slow motion and work your way up to regular speed. And it's cool because we can anticipate when the red is going to start now and get used to the timing of it. Think of it as one motion. Instead of crouching medium punch, see that it hit, and then doing the Fuhajin, what you should be doing is knowing this is going to hit and then doing one motion for it. Your brain will consolidate this as one action. Instead of it being 2 actions of crouching medium kick into Fuhajin, your brain will just go this and just do that motion. So give yourself some time, try to see the red, and then do the next command, and I'm sure you'll get it in time. A lot of these concepts show themselves in the combo trials, so my suggestion is before you start a set, you should go into the combo trials and just get yourself reacquainted with the combos and some of these concepts. I know it's not the most glamorous option. However, I myself, a Diamond 2, still go into combo trials just to warm myself up. A lot of you come from other games, so some of these concepts are not far. It's just getting used to what Street Fighter does with these concepts. Don't be above the combo trials. They're there and they're great help. If you have any more questions, make sure to hit up the comment section and I'll try to answer as much as possible. If I helped you in any way, hit the subscribe button to get more Street Fighter 6 content, as I plan to drop more and more content to help you guys out, especially if you're a Juri player. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you guys soon in Street Fighter 6. Have a good one.